What's up everybody, PJ Mills here, and I know that I promised I wasn't going to be doing any more long form album review videos, and I'm not going to, because the videos I used to make required me to write these multiple page scripts and then sit in front of the camera and recite everything to the camera while I was looking into it, because I wanted it to look like I wasn't just reading something. And that took a long time. That took hours of me sitting in front of the camera, awkwardly saying lines over and over again. And while I can do that for a quarter to four, because it's kind of short and to the point, and I don't have to do it over and over and over again because it's not that long, I can't sit there and do these long 10-minute videos where I'm like writing a script and then trying to recite it all, because it just takes too much time. But what I can do is I can stand in front of the camera and just share my thoughts. It probably won't be as funny, probably to a certain extent won't be as maybe organized as some of my other older album reviews, but hey, I can still share my thoughts. And I know a lot of y'all are curious about this specific album. 1,000 Foot Krutch's 8th studio album, Exhale, released June 17th of 2016. So it's been out for quite a while, actually. I obviously have a bit of a connection with 1,000 Foot Krutch. When I was growing up in high school, I loved this band and I listened to them a lot. The Art of Breaking was one of my favorite albums in high school. And so many songs on there, I loved them. I listened to them constantly. Obviously, I was also really into Phenomenon and stuff like that. And then I also thought The Flame in All of Us was pretty great. As I started getting older, some of their albums were better than others. I know obviously y'all probably remember the review I did for Oxygen Inhale. That one kind of left me maybe wanting something a little different. But with this new album, this is probably going to sound super harsh, but I realized maybe Oxygen Inhale wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And the reason for that is the fact that I honestly think this album, for me, was a huge disappointment because the formula was so apparent on this album. Just the repetitiveness of the lyrics and the lyrical themes, the guitar riffs. I mean, so much of this stuff we've heard countless times from other bands, and as well as 1,000 Foot Krutch themselves. And there was just nothing new or refreshing here. Now, obviously, if you're a newer fan of 1,000 Foot Krutch, you may really enjoy this album because, y'all probably haven't necessarily grown up with like Phenomenon and The Art of Breaking and all that stuff. So, maybe this stuff is like, oh, this is all new, like 1,000 Foot Krutch doing like pump up stuff. And it's not new. They've been doing it for years. When I was sitting down and listening to it, it wasn't until almost more than halfway through the album, like I want to say it was track 8, Adrenaline, that was the first song that really grabbed me. And that's a bit of a letdown because the album is clearly trying to pump up the listener. But when it takes 8 songs to even get remotely pumped up, I was kind of like, something's not working. And maybe it's just me because of the fact that I've been listening to 1,000 Foot Krutch so long, and I know that they have so many better songs. But I just thought there's just this real lack of inspiration, and I don't know what happened. And there's a part of me that thinks maybe people like me and other fans are responsible, because I know there's definitely this reaction to Oxygen Inhale where it was like, wait, where's all the rock songs? Like it's such a slow album. Well, this album is definitely a rock album. It is like pretty much all rock songs, but they're just not really good ones. They're just very basic. A lot of the themes of each of the songs were just very simple, and 1,000 Foot Krutch can go deeper than that. They've proven that in the past. But with this album, it just felt very, very basic, very surface level, very safe, I would say. There were really no risks taken on this album, and that's when I started to realize that Oxygen Inhale, there was a lot more risk involved with that album. I didn't necessarily love the album, but in hindsight, I almost appreciate the album more than this one. And this album kind of left me wondering why I enjoy 1,000 Foot Krutch. What is special about them as a band? And the truth is, there's a lot. There's a lot that I really enjoy about them. I enjoy TFK when they are looking into relationships or maybe the struggles that we can face as humans. And on this album, while they dealt with that, it was in a very basic way. And you see this in a lot of Christian music from all over the place. Is like a lot of bands like to like pretend like they're dealing with harsh realities. Like Skillet's a good example of that. They like to pretend like they're dealing with the gritty aspects of, you know, being a human and dealing with sin, but it feels like it's a very like dealing with the problem from an arm's length, you know? Like, oh yeah, no, like on the album Comatose, which is actually an album I love, but the song Better Than Drugs, it feels like it's written by someone that really doesn't even remotely understand the situation or the gravity of the situation, and just saying, oh yeah, Jesus, you know? Obviously, it's not that I'm saying it's not a good answer or it's not true, it's the Sunday school answer, you know? It's so basic. Like, you know, give me something that's a little more in depth. Don't just say, well, that's the answer. It's like, okay, yeah, but what else? You know what I mean? And that was one of the big problems I had with the album. The other problem, like I mentioned previously, is the fact that a lot of the songs sound like stuff that's already been released. Track 3, Give Up the Ghost, the guitar riff in the song is almost a carbon copy of Chevelle's Another Know-It-All. I don't know if y'all have heard that song, but definitely go check it out. It's a great song. But the second I heard it, I was like, oh, this is almost exactly the same guitar riff. And please hear me when I say this. I don't have a problem with songs sounding the same, but when it sounds like it was just like, oh, this is a really nice riff, we're just going to take that riff and use it here, and then it doesn't really build on it at all. It's like the whole song is kind of like the riff in a way. I don't know. It left me kind of unimpressed. One song that I think kind of stood out as a really weak track was track 5, The River. Guys, we've heard songs like this so many times, just generic kind of, you know, baptism songs, if you will. Yeah, take me down to the river, wash me in the water, stuff like that. Like, it's been done time and time again, and they don't really bring anything fresh to it. The first song that really, really grabbed me was track 8, Adrenaline, and that was the first song on the album that I thought was actually good. It was actually very energetic. Granted, the lyrics were very basic. It implied a lot of those buzzwords like, yeah, adrenaline, you know, get your heart pumping, stuff like that. Stuff like, you know, you expect to hear in a song called Adrenaline. The other song on the album that I thought was actually pretty good was Can't Stop, track 10. I really enjoyed the attitude in that song. It reminded me of old TFK. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, well, they need to just stick with their old sound. That's not what I'm saying. But it did remind me of what I enjoyed about them to begin with. Was, you know, they had this energetic attitude that was like, yeah, you can't handle this. You can't stop this. We're unstoppable and stuff like that. Again, lyrics, little basic, little repetitive, but the energy was there. The personality was there. So I enjoyed it. Honestly, outside of those 2 tracks, a lot of the songs sounded either very similar, like something we've already heard before, or they just felt uninspired. Okay, so for fans that are new to TFK, and maybe this is the second or third album that you're hearing by the band, and you're like, well, PJ, I don't get what you're saying, because, like, you know, there's some cool stuff on here. I just encourage you to go check out The Flame in All of Us, or The Art of Breaking. That's my personal favorite. But both those albums, just look at the lyrics. Just kind of comb through what they're saying, what they're talking about in those songs, because for me, it just feels like they had more to say during that era. All right, so maybe an overall rating of the album, I'd probably say a 3 out of 10. And I know that's really harsh and really rough, but I just honestly feel like there was a lot lacking and there wasn't much heart in this album. Okay, so I know that was really rough around the edges and definitely not as smooth as, you know, some of my past reviews and stuff. But hey, I just made some notes and I came in here and I was talking to the camera, so it's not going to be as smooth as when I write everything out word for word. So if y'all enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know. If y'all did not like it at all and you're like, okay, this is ridiculous, just stick with your quarter to the 4 thing, that's totally okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. If y'all really dig it, maybe I'll do some more. If y'all are like, not feeling it, then all good. No harm, no foul.